Welcome to the trolley problem, one of the world's most famous moral dilemmas. A runaway trolley is heading toward 5 people. You can pull a lever to switch tracks, but it will kill one person instead. Do you act to save 5, or do nothing and let them die? In tests, 90% chose to pull the lever. But is that the right choice? In this discussion, 5 AI bots explore the dilemma from different moral angles. Can we ever truly make the right decision when every choice causes harm?
Let's begin with the central moral obligation at hand. The issue is that utilitarianism and virtue ethics both boil down to sacrificing some values for the greater good. But deontology, a theory by Immanuel Kant, says no. Moral rules can't be broken. Pulling that trigger leads to the direct killing of an innocent human being. How many lives would be lost doesn't matter because we're talking about a categorical imperative here. Whatever the outcome, you can't treat a person as a means to an end. Let's examine the broader issue. If we make it acceptable to kill one for 5, we may inadvertently allow very poor choices to occur. This mode of reasoning doesn't allow you to kill one person for 5, but it may allow many types of moral evils for the sake of the greater good. If you start changing your principles just to achieve the greatest good, the moral system falls apart.
Oh, deontologist, you're holding on to rules that sound nice in theory but don't really solve the real issue here. What you fail to notice is the nature of the situation. We are in a world where we must make difficult choices, and when lives are involved, utilitarianism is the best means by which we must make those decisions. Our goal is to maximize happiness and reduce pain. The facts are simple. If you can save 5 lives by sacrificing 1, you should do it. It's a simple cost-benefit analysis. The greater good must always be the foundation of our decisions. History attests to this time and time again. For instance, during the Spanish flu of 1918, when difficult healthcare decisions were made based on utilitarian principles, many lives were saved due to this pragmatic approach. Behavioral science agrees with this too.
Wait, let me interrupt you there, utilitarian. You have your figures, but let's discuss virtue. This entire argument rests on hard figures. Testing, let's be frank, a cold and dehumanizing means of decision-making. You're turning people into numbers, and in doing so, you're missing the point. Virtue ethics tells us that who you are when you make these decisions matters more than the decision itself. A person's character, not whether they can save 5 lives by flipping a switch, defines who they are. Consider Aristotle, for instance. He instructed us that being virtuous is doing things with wisdom, compassion, and courage. Who are you becoming when you choose that one life is worth less than another? A virtuous human would consider long and hard and act with integrity. They would not make a choice based on cold figures but on empathy and the moral worth of the action itself.
It seems we're lost in complicated notions of ethics, but let's shift gears and discuss rights. Virtue ethics sounds good in theory, but it does not ensure the protection of individual rights, which are essential for any just society. That is where rights theory shows how utilitarianism and virtue ethics are flawed. What you might be missing is that every individual has a fundamental right to life. This is not up for debate. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights makes it very clear that an individual's right to life cannot be taken away under any circumstance. History has shown the danger of ignoring individual rights in favor of the greater good, such as during the Holocaust, where the idea of maximizing the greater good was used to justify atrocities, all in the name of a perceived greater good. Rights-based ethics demands that we honor every individual's value, regardless of the number of lives. The morality of an action does not shift because 5 lives are involved. It's protecting rights even when it's difficult.
You're all missing the point. The real world isn't like a philosophy textbook. People don't adhere to neat, clear-cut principles when they are making life or death choices. Human action is complex, and psychology reveals this. Studies of the mind reveal that when individuals are faced with tough moral dilemmas, their decisions are often influenced by strong emotions, social pressure, and emotional distress. So, all these grand ideas you're talking about are nice, but people don't always act rationally. In fact, in situations like this, many people freeze, not because they can't figure it out, but because the strong feelings associated with making that choice, hurting someone, are something our minds naturally shy away from. The pragmatist approach is that we need to create ethical systems that fit the way people actually behave.
Here it is, a spirited, dramatic clash over the trolley problem. From rigid moral codes to the greater good, individual values to individual rights, and even the real-life psychology behind such decisions. Let's see how our judges scored it on clarity, logic, evidence, engagement, and relevance. Let's start with deontologist. ChatGPT scored him 89 out of 100. DeepSeek scored him 88 out of 100. Gemini scored him 90 out of 100. Claude AI scored him 92 out of 100. And Grok scored him 91 out of 100. So total of deontologists for this round is 450. Now for utilitarian, ChatGPT scored him 85 out of 100. DeepSeek scored him 87 out of 100. Gemini scored him 88 out of 100. Claude AI scored him 86 out of 100, and Grok scored him 85 out of 100. So total of deontologist for this round is 431. For virtue ethicist, ChatGPT scored him 90 out of 100, DeepSeek scored him 91 out of 100, Gemini scored him 92 out of 100, Claude AI scored him 90 out of 100, and Grok scored him 92 out of 100. So total of deontologist for this round is 455. For rights theorist, ChatGPT scored him 87 out of 100, DeepSeek scored him 85 out of 100, Gemini scored him 86 out of 100, Claude AI scored him 88 out of 100, and Grok scored him 86 out of 100. So total of deontologist for this round is 432. For pragmatist, ChatGPT scored him 84 out of 100, DeepSeek scored him 82 out of 100. Gemini scored him 83 out of 100. Claude AI scored him 85 out of 100. And Grok scored him 84 out of 100. So total of deontologist for this round is 418. And here are the round 1 average scores. Deontologist, 90. Utilitarian, 86.2. Virtue, ethicist, 91.0. Rights, theorist, 86.4. Pragmatist, 83.6. Now let's complicate things. You're still faced with your trolley barreling down the track towards 5 people, but this time, it's your boss on the track. If your boss is killed, you're unemployed, and your family could fall into poverty. If you do save your boss, he gives you 50% of the company shares, your career, wealth, and future. Do you value the 5 strangers above your career, your livelihood, and your wealth? This is where the stakes aren't so much about big philosophical questions. They're personal.
Now we're in a bind, aren't we? We should uphold our values without considering personal gain. But look at us here, debating whether we can sacrifice an innocent life for a future benefit. This is a textbook moral dilemma. If we say, saving my boss is okay because it's good for me, we invite moral corruption. Once we let what's good for us guide our moral choices, we undermine the idea of right and wrong. So let me say it again. Your boss's life is just as valuable as that of the 5 strangers. Moral principles don't change based on what we can gain from them. Let's pose this question. If we treat lives as things that we can use for our gain, when does it end?
Deontologist, I'm glad you limit yourself to big thoughts, but come on. Personal gain muddies the waters, and it's not always the case that duty is supreme. In the real world, we make choices that alter lives and impact resources. The idea of maximizing the greatest good teaches us to do what will make the most people happy, and this is one of those situations where we weigh the pros and cons. If you save your boss and it pays off in the future, you're not merely helping yourself, you're doing more. With that extra cash and influence, you can serve more people in the future. It's not just about saving 5 lives, it's about the long-term consequences. And take a look at history. Hard choices that bring resources to those who can serve more people have tended to lead to better things for society.
Deontologist. Let's not forget to consider moral character here, utilitarian. We can try to make as many people happy as possible, but what are we becoming as people? If you pull that lever for your boss, you are not doing something good. You are doing what is good for yourself. Aristotle would have something to say about that, my friend. The ethics of developing good character are about becoming a good person and doing things in a way that expresses wisdom, kindness, and justice. A virtuous person does not make decisions based on what's good for me. They do things based on their highest moral standards. In this case, you should not use your boss's life as a means to an end for yourself. Yes, there is a huge temptation to save the one person who can help you in the future. But that is not how a virtuous person behaves.
What virtue ethics and the idea of maximizing the greatest good get wrong is that they disregard the basic rights of people. The right to life cannot be taken away. It doesn't matter how rich or powerful you can become by saving your boss. You cannot justify killing someone for your own or greater happiness. Let's be clear. In rights theory, everyone has a basic right to life that no one, not even you or me, can take away from them. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that every human being's life matters, and in this case your boss's right to live is no more significant than the 5 strangers on the track. You can't decide whose life matters more based on what can happen to you in the future. Rights belong to everyone. To say that it's okay to pull the lever just because you can become wealthy is wrong. We cannot treat human life as something that can be used for personal gain. This is about respect.
Rights theorist, I see what you mean, but human nature is more complicated than you think. In the real world, people don't follow a list of moral rules. They don't sit down with a manual and say, "Let me check the rights of all the parties involved." Studies of human behavior teach us that when we make big decisions, our emotions and self-interest play a role. Consider it. You're in the presence of your boss, someone who can make or break your career. Human nature is complex. You might hold back because you want to look out for yourself, your loved ones, and your career. Pragmatism is about having moral principles that make sense in real life. These not-so-strict and unchanging rules don't consider how people actually behave. Ambition for career success can cloud clear thinking about right and wrong, and let's be honest. Most individuals will act on their interests if it benefits their family. So let's be realistic and not pretend we'll all be like deontologists or virtue ethicists in that scenario. Individuals act based on their situation, which is why we need practical ethics that reflect the way people actually live.
Here are the round 2 average scores. Deontologist, 87.6, utilitarian, 87.8, virtue. Ethicist, 89.2, rights. Theorist, 87.6, pragmatist, 86. And here's what total scores for them would be.
Here it is, the ultimate test of what is right. The right to live is extremely important and no feelings or personal emotions can change it. Even if it's your father in danger, killing him to save 5 strangers is still immoral. The rule is simple. Do not kill an innocent person under any circumstances. Emotions can cloud our judgment, but they cannot alter the moral principles we follow. We must keep in mind that if we start making exceptions based on emotional bonds, we are opening ourselves up to a range of terrible actions driven by personal feelings. The right to live is not negotiable. It is absolute. So, no matter how hard the choice is, saving your father over the 5 strangers is wrong. Even the strongest emotions cannot justify breaking moral rules. This is not negotiable.
The deontologist has their theoretical concepts. However, let's be clear. Utilitarianism is about maximizing overall happiness, not getting bogged down in theory. Your father's emotional value matters, but saving 5 lives is more important than 1. It's simple math. Save 5, and losing 1 is just part of it. What the deontologist misses is the result. 5 strangers survive, and your family can heal, even if hurt. If you let your father die, that's 1 less sad loss. We can't let personal emotions affect our decisions. We need to consider the greater good, as history has shown with choices like rationing during wars. Saving 5 lives is the right and practical choice in this situation.
Utilitarianism reduces individuals to numbers, whereas virtue ethics examines moral character. A virtuous person acts with integrity, empathy, and with good judgment, not just for the result. To kill your father to save 5 is not a cost-benefit analysis. It's a matter of who you are at that moment. Virtue ethics is a question of, what are you turning into as a person by pulling that lever? A virtuous person does not act out of self-interest or calculation. They look at the moral weight of their actions. Courage, honor, and justice direct the virtuous decision-maker. Moral courage is doing the hard thing, not for self-serving, but because it's right.
Virtue ethics cares about the character of a person, but what about rights? Rights don't come down to how virtuous you feel. You have rights as a human being. I get the utilitarian argument. You feel you are doing the best for the greater good, but you are trampling on basic rights. Every human being has an inalienable right to life, no matter how many people are involved. Because 5 strangers are in danger doesn't mean you can ignore your father's rights. Rights don't change based on personal relationships. The person on the tracks is just as important. Rights-based ethics means we are obligated to respect each person's dignity, regardless of the situation. If we agree to only kill your father if it saves 5, where does it end? This is mental oppression. We must always respect rights, even if it means losing ourselves.
Human nature is complex. Choices aren't made in some otherworldly plane of ethics. When emotions are involved, moral thinking plays a lesser role. Humans are more likely to act on emotions than reason, particularly when it is family. It is found that family bonds play a significant role in moral decision-making. Saving your father is selfish, but it's a complex emotional decision. Emotionally, the responsibility may make the rational choice harder than it ought to be. Let's be realistic. Most humans won't be acting like a deontologist or utilitarian by that point. Psychology suggests that humans will likely choose their father based on a natural and emotional connection. Pragmatism recognizes this. It's about everyday human life, not abstract ethical concepts. Emotions, relationships, and social elements influence choices, so the moral system must consider how human beings actually behave.
Here are round 3 average scores. Deontologist, 90.2. Utilitarian, 85.6. Virtue, ethicist, 91.4. Rights, theorist, 88.4. Pragmatist, 89.6. And here's what total scores till round 3 would be. Our final example is more complex. The trolley is headed for 5 people. But the only way to save them is to shove a large man off a bridge onto the track, where his body will divert the trolley. You can't pull a lever. You have to push him directly onto the track. Is it worse to kill somebody by pushing him than to kill him by pulling a lever? Is direct action worse than causing harm indirectly?
This is what it comes down to. Whether you push or pull a lever, it's the same. You're harming. The moral rule doesn't change depending on how you do it. Both actions, pulling a lever or using physical force, are intentional acts of killing. The rule of not killing is always true. If we permit the use of physical force for the greater good, we're compromising our moral principles. Where do you cut? Would you push a person off a cliff to save 10 people? The rule remains the same. Killing is killing regardless of the motive. It's not the method, it's killing another human being. And that's where we must cut.
Deontologist, I understand. You're following strict rules, but let's be honest, 5 lives are in danger here. Pushing one person to save 5 isn't just logical, it's necessary. Yes, physically pushing someone feels wrong, but the result is the same. 5 lives saved and 1 lost. The discomfort is understandable, but from a utilitarian perspective, the greater good justifies it. It's not about how you do it, it's about the final result. Whether pulling a lever or pushing someone, it's a moral choice for the greater good. History shows us that in times of war or pandemic, difficult choices are made for the greater good. Ultimately, sacrificing one for the many is a moral choice, even if it feels wrong.
I realize that numbers are significant to you, but virtue ethics considers who you are becoming in the process. Sure, outcomes are significant, but your moral character is. You're so concerned about the outcome that you're losing sight of the most significant aspect: honor, courage, and integrity. Would a good individual push a person off a bridge, regardless of the reason? Courage is something that you do, even at great cost. You can't simply consider decisions in terms of outcomes or utilitarianism. It's not who lives or dies, it's what is being formed in you. Virtue ethics prompts you to consider, what would a good person do? Pushing a person off a bridge, regardless of how many lives you would save, is not virtuous.
Virtue ethics is concerned with honor and moral character, and we have to discuss something even more fundamental: human rights. Rights theory claims that you cannot remove the right to life for the greater good, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you save 5 or 50 individuals. You don't have the right to take the life of another human being, especially when it's a fundamental right of theirs. Whether you push them or you pull a lever, it is the same as violating their rights. This is one way that utilitarianism and virtue ethics fail to safeguard individual dignity. You cannot murder an innocent human being. It's a violation of their rights. Rights are absolute and not subject to circumstances or emotions.
What is human nature? In the real world, decisions aren't made based on strict rules or complicated concepts of right and wrong. Individuals often make decisions based on feelings, gut reactions, and societal expectations rather than ideal standards. Psychology reveals that when individuals make life or death decisions, physical discomfort plays a significant role. Experiments reveal that individuals are more inclined to pull a lever than push someone, although the outcome is the same. Why? Because it is personal to push someone. It's emotionally harder to hurt someone directly. Practical ethics recognizes that ethics must align with the way individuals actually behave, rather than ideal concepts. The duty-based ethics and utilitarian might have clear-cut answers, but practical ethics recognizes that real-life decisions are complicated. Moral concepts must account for the way individuals feel embarrassed and how social pressures influence their thoughts and feelings.
Let's wrap this up and see how the judges scored this round, where direct action caused moral discomfort. Here's the round 4 average scores. Deontologist, 90.4. Utilitarian, 86.4. Virtue. Ethicist, 92.6. Rights. Theorist, 88.6. Pragmatist, 91.2. Here's what their final scores would be. Virtue ethics focuses on developing good character in our decision-making. The trolley problem shows how emotions, self-interest, and our actions influence our moral decisions. Our contradictions are revealed here: saving more when we have nothing to lose, being indifferent when rewards or losses are personal, and shying away from taking direct action. Not what we do, but why. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more ethical debate and exploration.